Today's first reading from Genesis describes God making a covenant with Abram, meaning great father. Later, Abram will be renamed Abraham, meaning father of a multitude. Prior to establishing a covenant with Abram, God tests Abram's faith by telling Abram to look up into the sky and number the stars if you're able to number them. For the number of stars in the sky will be the number of children, descendants that Abram will be a father of. Upon looking at the passage closely, especially the verses that come later that state that later in the day the sun set, it becomes evident that God asked Abram to count the number of stars in the sky, if he can, when the sun was in the sky, making it impossible, naturally speaking, to count the number of stars in the sky. And yet Abram still believed in God. In the context of Abram's faith that God would give him many children that he cannot see, like the many stars that Abram cannot count, but believes are present in the sky, God establishes a covenant with Abram. The ritual that the covenant takes place involves Abram obeying God by cutting in half 4 animals. Then Abram lines up half of the animal pieces on one side and half of the pieces on another side. Afterwards, a flaming torch and a smoking fire pot passes through the pieces. The torch and pot represents God's presence passing through the cut-apart animals as a way of telling Abram that if I am not faithful to the covenant I am making with you, then may I become like the animals who have been cut apart and are on either side of me. In obeying God to sacrifice precious animals, Abraham sacrifices present good, live animals, for a future reward, many descendants he cannot see, as he could not see stars in the sky while the sun was shining. To sacrifice a present good for a future possibility requires faith, hope, and love. Abraham sacrifices his animals since he loved God more than his animals. Abraham sacrifices his animals because he believed that God would keep his word. Abraham sacrifices his animals because he hoped that in the future he would see God's promise to him come into reality. Similarly, we are called to sacrifice present goods for a heavenly reality. We do so not because we believe the present is bad, not because we believe that material reality is evil. We sacrifice present goods for the very good and the holy, which is the best. As Genesis teaches us, the material created world and the animals that are in the world are good. Men and women are very good, and the 7th day is holy and the best, since God as the highest good is holy, and the 7th day is the day that men and women who are created on the 6th day along with the animals, but are created for the 7th day, men and women are to serve as bridges between the good and the holy by being very good, by acting in a priestly manner, by offering earthly work up to God as a pleasing act of worship. If we wish to get something out of today's Mass, may we come to Mass to fulfill our role as a priestly people who bring to the Mass our work in the created world to offer to God, especially when the gifts of wine and bread are brought forward, so that not only the wine and bread may be transformed into the body and blood and soul and divinity of Christ, but our work may also be touched by Christ's presence and become a pleasing sacrifice, a pleasing offering, united to the Lord Jesus, the one high priest, as a pleasing sacrifice offered to God. God bless.